Tempo has been one of the most important aspects of Hearthstone since its creation. Tempo is the unofficial term that essentially describes the momentum one player is generating in the game. Tempo has been one of the defining factors in almost every Hearthstone meta. The classes that have the greatest tempo tools tend to find themselves situated in the best position. Just look at the history of Rogue's strength throughout the years. With the meta being very tempo-oriented currently, we decided to take a look at what makes tempo so important in Hearthstone. Before we take a deeper look, make sure to subscribe to the Tempo Storm Hearthstone YouTube channel for all of your favorite and up-to-date Hearthstone content. Now let's get right into the video. We briefly described what tempo was earlier, but to give some examples and describe it further, tempo is a term used in card games to describe the momentum one player is generating. For example, let's say your opponent has a Bloodfen Raptor on the board. You have 3 options for plays. You can Arcane Intellect, Wolf Rider into the Bloodfen Raptor, or you can SI7 Agent the Bloodfen Raptor. Keep in mind this is a hypothetical situation, and we know that these cards may not be seen altogether that often. If you play the Arcane Intellect, your opponent keeps tempo over you since you haven't played anything onto the board. If you Wolf Rider into the minion, you have reset tempo onto the board since neither player has a minion. Lastly, if you SI7 Agent the minion, you are gaining tempo since you have effectively played your own minion while clearing your opponent's. This example is just to illustrate what exactly tempo is. Now that we've got a clear understanding of what exactly it is, why is it so important in Hearthstone? Tempo in card games has always been important, but especially with Hearthstone. There are tons of reasons for why it's one of the most important aspects of Hearthstone. First, the initiative is given to the attacker. There is little to nothing the defensive player can do to interact. Mana is most optimally spent on developing and not removing, and the life total in Hearthstone is relatively low to begin the game. All of these correspond to one another and all intertwine between each other, but let's break these down one by one. Priority is given to the player who is attacking. What this means is that whoever's turn it is has the ability to play cards and attack. This makes tempo one of the most essential tools. If you are the player constantly generating tempo within the game, you are the player that will most likely snowball to victory. Attacking allows you to generate efficient trades and also use cards to gain optimal tempo. Let's say that you have an SI7 agent on the board while your opponent has a River Crocolisk. If you are the player attacking, you can maintain your board advantage and tempo by using your SI7 agent to value trade into that minion. You net value by clearing off one of your opponent's cards, and the body of your minion sticks around to either clear off another threat or push relevant face damage. Cards that help you establish early pressure often snowball your lead and result in a victory. Let's look at a card like Backstab. If you're the attacker, you can backstab an opponent minion, play your own, and swing face with any minion that has lived the previous turn. This results in a snowballing effect and is one of the reasons you typically see Rogue perform so well. What we just talked about goes hand in hand with our next point. There is little to no defense mechanic in Hearthstone. For instance, in other card games, there is typically something your opponent can do or play while it is one player's turn. In Yu-Gi-Oh! It's traps, MTG it's instants, and Legends of Runeterra it's fast burst spells. Hearthstone doesn't have any of these mechanics. In fact, the closest thing Hearthstone has to any of those mechanics is secrets. Even secrets your opponent can play around and not have to worry about too much. This results in tempo being extremely relevant as players cannot play on their opponent's turn. You can't SI7 agent a minion on their turn and then proceed to develop when the turn passes. Instead, you have to be as proactive as possible when it comes to your turn. This also inherently makes control strategies much weaker, as a lot of times they aim to stop what their opponent is doing on their opponent's turn. Then they follow it up with some insane late game tool that potentially ends the game on the spot. Control decks in Hearthstone, however, almost always have to play reactively to what it is their opponent is doing and may never find that time to play a greedier card. This goes to show just how strong tempo is in Hearthstone. This again goes into another point about mana usage. Mana is typically best used in development since minions are the main tool that helps you win the game. Minions hit your opponent's face and result in the one traditional win condition, which is reducing your opponent's life total to 0. Since there isn't much that a defending player can do and attackers have the initiative, mana is best spent on plays that develop onto the board. However, development can be seen as a negative when it obviously gives your opponent either a good trade or a great play on the following turn. This is why spending mana on tempo is so strong. It forces your opponent to play reactively in order to try and regain that lost tempo. If they have to reset the board and create 0 tempo for themselves, all initiative is passed back to you, and you can continue to generate tempo and create powerful board states. The last point we wanted to bring up was life total. This goes to sum up why everything mentioned earlier was so important. We talked about how tempo generates face damage, which in return results in a snowballing effect. Since life totals in Hearthstone are relatively low, this snowballing effect will most likely lead to a victory, as if one player can generate tempo while the other cannot, the player who can't generate tempo will never really generate face damage and be able to win the game. Maybe they eventually win tempo over their opponent later on in the game, but odds are they are so low on life, they lose to a lot of their opponent's plays or draws. Now, this isn't to say life is a valuable resource to be used while playing, but we think that's a topic for another day. We also talked about how mana is best spent on developing tempo and not on other cards. This goes for life total as well. Very few cards that heal a player have been proven to be strong. Their effect has to be either attached to a body, or it has to heal such a sufficient amount that it's worth playing. Because at the end of the day, if you're healing your face and not generating tempo, your opponent will eventually overwhelm you with pressure and you will lose. Healing back to 30 is great, but if you don't answer the board or create one of your own in the process, you're honestly just delaying the inevitable at that point. Although tempo is important in all card games, it is especially important in Hearthstone, a game unlike any other card game in the way that it plays. This honestly is one of the reasons we've all come to love and enjoy Hearthstone, because it's so unique in its approach. We hope that this video today explained why tempo is so important in Hearthstone and helped you better understand it for your future games. If you liked this video and would like more analysis like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the Tempo Storm Hearthstone YouTube channel for more. If you have any topics that you would like covered in a future video, go ahead and leave a comment down below about what you would like to see in the future. That's all from us for now. Thanks for watching.